So good afternoon and thanks CW and Folu for inviting me. So you will operate the PowerPoint from there? Okay, fine. So, a friend of mine, a very senior journalist with Hindustan Times told me once that whatever you have to say in your writing, you say in the first paragraph. Because people these days do not have the patience to go through the next and the next. So I will follow the same model here. And even before I begin, I will say that in 2018, I published a paper in which I said that over the next 10 years, we need to move to direct benefit transfer for food in a phased manner. We are already in 2024, and a couple of days back, we have released a report about the direct benefit transfer for rice in Karnataka. So I will request you to read that report. So that is where I am coming from. In 2034, 10 years hence, I will request you to imagine the shape India's PDS should have. Will we continue to have to supply food grains to 80 crore people or maybe 90 crore by then? Will we continue to procure, store, move food grains as we do currently? Or will we move to at least a partial DBT in states which are surplus in food? It is not my case that Nagaland should move to a DBT because Nagaland is a deficit state. So I thought I should make it very clear in the very beginning. Next. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, fine. So, this whole business of procuring a large quantity of food grains, storing it in the surplus states, transferring it to deficit states, and then handing it over to the state governments is a very complex and challenging exercise. And I'm afraid that the understanding of its complexity outside the governmental system is not very well known. In fact, and if I can say so, having been an insider, it is not a very efficient way of supporting the farmers and also supporting the consumers. So we are coming from a history of famines, and those of you who have not heard of this podcast by Kavita Puri, I will request you to listen to this podcast about the Bengal famine. She is a British journalist. This is an award-winning podcast about Bengal famine, and she has been able to trace people who were asking for rice water. They were not asking for rice, the rural people of Bengal were not asking for rice when they came to Calcutta for begging. They were asking for rice water, which was, thrown away by the richer people of Calcutta. You must listen to that. So this is in our collective memory. And, anything to do with PDS, etc. has to begin from here. Now, we know that the current form of PDS actually started in 1940s during the Second World War. We were importing rice even in 1940s, and so this Department of Food was created, and we are following almost a similar model, in fact a much expanded model of PDS. Now, in 2013, the National Food Security Act was enacted after a lot of debate, discussion, controversy, etc. And it expanded the coverage of PDS. At that time we had Antyodaya, BPL and APL. And now in 2013 it was expanded to cover 67% of population. Many people now feel that that is too much. Even yesterday, Dr. Gulati has written, you may have read that article, that instead of covering 80 crore people, we should not be covering not more than 15 crores. So this issue is very much on the table. What should be the coverage? For both wheat and rice, the procurement, many people say, is too high, and I have also written about it. In some years, in case of rice, it has reached as high as 40%. In case of wheat, it has ranged between 30 and 40%. So this is too high, and therefore in some years, when the government has large surpluses in its warehouses, the government does not know what to do with it. And that is how you saw 2 years back the government giving rice for ethanol from the government warehouses at about 20 rupees or 22 rupees a kilogram. So, which was cheaper than the open market sale price of rice. Now, also at that time, if you would recall, on the eve of COVID-19, our senior functionaries of the government were saying that we can feed the world only if the WTO rules allowed export of food grains from the central pool stock, from the government stocks. As you know, in the Bali Declaration, India agreed that we will not export wheat from the procured stocks, wheat and rice from the stocks procured by the government. Open market trade is allowed, but procured stocks exports are not allowed. So it was said that we can feed the world and so on. So too much procurement, and even now, as I am talking, the procurement of rice last year was again very high, some 50 million tons, and again the government would not know what to do with that. So in fact, they have again, the government of India has again announced allotment of rice for ethanol, which in my view is a very wrong policy choice. Also, I would like to highlight here that when elections come, the governments give all kinds of incentives. As we were just discussing, when rich people like us get these incentives, there is not much coverage in media. So in Bombay, they have made entry into Bombay free at so many tolls, entry for cars free. So that is not considered a freebie. So last year when there were elections in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, the government announced a bonus on paddy. You remember, this bonus was not announced on oilseeds or pulses or millets, Shri Anna, etc. So, the government is now procuring paddy in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh at 3,100 rupees a quintal, while in Punjab, Haryana, UP it is 2,400 rupees. So, we are already spending quite a large amount on food subsidy, 2.05 trillion. That comma is wrong. It should be a dot there. So 2 lakh crore of rupees subsidy is there. But this subsidy is not really going to farmers. That people sometimes confuse. This is the difference between the issue between the economic cost of food grains, and now of course there is no cost being charged from the state governments. Government is now giving it free. So that is about 2.05 trillion. And this is despite the economic survey recommending year after year that this should change. Go to the next, please. Now, we also know that at least according to the official data, the per capita consumption of cereals has been going down, both in urban and rural areas. Of course, there are some doubts and discrepancies, but that is what it is as per the official data. Now, Shri Anna production has been going up, and one reason for this is that the government has been announcing quite attractive prices for several of the Shri Anna crops, and at least in some states like Haryana, the government has also been procuring bajra. So as you can see, for all the major Shri Anna crops, millet crops, jowar, bajra, ragi, and even the small millets, the production has gone up. So that we can say is a good news, but very little of it is coming from reducing the area under paddy. In fact, the productivity levels have also been increasing, especially for maize. Of course, maize we are not covering here, but on the whole we can say that the story of millets has gained ground, and the state governments could have procured even more only if the Government of India allowed them to procure an unlimited quantity and deliver it to FCI for movement to other states. Instead of that, what the Government of India has done is to tell the state governments that you can procure coarse grains, Shri Anna, but you have to consume it under PDS within the state. So you cannot hand it over to FCI for movement to other states, and sometimes if the other states agree, then it is moved. So for example, for a couple of months in UP, the government was giving bajra in PDS, and the beneficiaries did not know what to do with that bajra, because bajra is not eaten in that part of UP. I am talking of Lucknow. So the people I was interacting in UP, they were sort of selling off this bajra because they don't eat that. Odisha is about the only state which has done it vigorously and successfully. Now they started this program for tribal areas and it is quite a success. Go to the next, please. The procurement, they are paying a handsome procurement price, declared by the government, and they procured ragi, and the distribution of ragi in Odisha has increased by about 3.6 times. The awareness has also increased in general, at least among the more educated classes, the awareness about the nutritional benefits. But at the level of the population, the awareness about the benefits of millets is still not very well known, and I do not think people like us consume any significant quantity of millets in our daily diets. Next. So this is the percentage of procurement. We have already discussed this. 42% procurement in 2023-24. 42% of rice produced in the country has been procured too high, and that is why in Punjab, this year there is no place to keep rice, because there are several reasons for that, but two major reasons are that in the last 2 years the procurement of wheat was very low in the country as a whole, and therefore rice was stored, wheat was stored in covered godowns. Earlier wheat was stored in cap storage in the open. So wheat is now stored in Punjab in covered godowns. There is more rice procurement in non-traditional states, MP, Chhattisgarh, etc., because of very high bonus there. As I said, 3,100 rupees. Even earlier, even the Congress government in Chhattisgarh was giving bonus on paddy. So too much procurement of rice, and similarly in wheat, of course, procurement in the last 3 years has been low, but otherwise if you see in 2019-20, 36% of production was procured. So we will hear more from our friend here, who has estimated that if we can replace 1 kilogram of rice with millets, then we can save about 900 crores of rupees. So I'm not going into those details, but it is a wish list whether we can reduce the procurement of rice, and instead of that we can procure millets. Now this is possible only if a large quantity is procured. Now this I would like to highlight. Many people think and question why pulses cannot be distributed under PDS, or why millets cannot be distributed. So for this we have to understand the economy of scale. In case of wheat and rice, large quantities procured and large quantities distributed. So many of you may not be fully aware of this. When the Food Corporation of India plans the movement of food grains from surplus states to deficit states, generally one full rake of about 2,400 metric tons moves from one destination in Punjab or Haryana or Madhya Pradesh, whatever, to a district in the consuming state. One full rake, 2,400 tons, which means that you should have demand for that much of quantity at the consuming station, and you should have the availability of that much at the dispatching station. Now in case of pulses, the government had had only announced that it will give 1 kilogram of pulses. So neither the availability of, another difference is that pulses have to be milled. Unlike wheat and rice, rice is of course milled, but there are mills all around, so pulses have to be milled. So first of all, if the pulses are procured, the government has to move those pulses to mills. Then from mills it has to move to consuming districts, and one rake load cannot come at 1 kilogram allocation. Similarly for millets. So therefore, logistically, it is very difficult to distribute pulses or millets at all India level. Now it does not mean that it cannot be done at the state level. At the state level it is possible, as I have demonstrated Odisha is doing, but at the all India level it is difficult. So this rate load thing is very important. Secondly, our friend from Cornell is here. You know, the economic cost of distribution of pulses millets is not known. At least it is not published. Unlike FCI, which publishes the economic cost in a transparent manner, and it is known, it is on their website, it is answered in parliament questions. The economic cost of distribution of pulses or millets is not known. So we do not know how much money is being incurred by the government of India or the state government of Odisha in distribution of pulses. In fact, in 2014, when this new government was formed, the Niti Aayog had decided to evaluate decentralized procurement scheme, which was initiated by Mr. Nand Kumar when he was secretary and I was joint secretary. Many people think, especially people who are in CEW, NGOs, etc., that decentralized procurement is a great success and so on. We do not really know, because that evaluation has not been completed in 10 years by Niti Aayog, and the data on economic cost is not published. So we do not know whether the decentralized procurement is more efficient than central procurement, less efficient, what are the losses, etc. We do not know that. But I can surely say that in the morning it was said that losses are 40%. I can surely say that Indian losses are not 40%. There are 2 studies of CIFET Ludhiana and 1 recent study of NAPCONS. Please have a look at that study. They have given their estimate of losses after a very thorough study, and nowhere are the losses. The losses are generally very low for grains, 2-3%, 4% for grains, etc. Even for perishables, some perishables like banana, etc., they are high, but in the range of 8% or so. I do not know how Madam said that losses in India are 40%. I think they are grossly exaggerated. Indian losses are not 40%. So, since this distribution mechanism is too complex, we have been of the view, and I am happy that Mr. Jakhar is here. We released a report last week in which we are saying that over a period of time, in a phased manner, there is a need to move to DBT so that people have a choice. They may want to buy eggs, they may want to buy soybean, they may want to buy millets, etc., whatever. They should have a choice and they should get money in their hands. We had said in that earlier paper of 2018 paper that those states where the literacy levels are high, banking penetration is better, there is more awareness of digital use of money, etc., those states can do it in the first instance, and food surplus states. For example, Punjab is there. We do not see much logic in distributing food grains under PDS in Ludhiana or Amritsar, where everybody is having surplus food grains. So at least in food surplus states there is not much point. Of course, in northeastern states or food deficit states it has to continue. Maybe it will take longer. So next, please. Now, 1 minute. So there is a very important point that the consumption by general public has to go up. Now, for this, an awareness campaign, a much more aggressive campaign is needed. Perhaps something like Swachh Bharat. When people like us start consuming millets, surely its consumption will go up, the prices will be better, farmers will be better served, and hopefully our nutritional status and health, etc., will improve. Now this NFSA we have already discussed. whether it should be 15 crores, 10 crores, etc., it is a point to be discussed. But surely, if we are we are soon going to become 5 trillion economy and so much progress and all that, surely 81 crore seems to be too high. Next. So that's it from me, and we do look forward to discussion on some of the points which I have highlighted before you. I will end by saying that as CMD FCI, my sleeps were disturbed because of the scale at which FCI moves the food grains. It is not only a very complex exercise, but also there is a lot of opportunity for corruption and all that. So some other way has to be found, and now technology has provided us that way by delivering money to people's bank accounts without any intermediary. So thank you very much.